Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Gemini, which is on the 25th of May at 8:44 Universal Time. And this particular moon in Gemini is an opportunity for new beginnings, and the final fruits of the new beginnings we sow on this particular date we'll find out when the full moon in Gemini rolls around on the 3rd of December. But for now, in terms of the new moon, it's a chance to set new intentions, and with Gemini this could be in areas like communication, immediate environment, social activity. So do we meet up with friends, or do we want to try and improve our social presence? Do we want to improve our communication? Do we want to widen our perception? And do we want to explore our immediate environment to see what have we overlooked because we've just taken our immediate environment for granted? We've missed certain hidden treasures, as it were, in our immediate environment. So these are all different themes. The main one for Gemini is perception. So this is because the way with Gemini it's all about the information and how we view the world through the way we interpret it. So with Gemini it collects all that raw information coming in through our senses, and our mind then uses all that raw data to create its own idea of what the world around us is. So the world that we see, or that we think we're seeing, is built based on the information coming in from us, but we all have certain perceptual biases. So it's conditioning within the way we see things, because our beliefs determine what information does come through our senses and what gets discarded along the way. So we all have certain biased perceptions about how things are, what the environment's telling us, but we all have different biases. So one person may see something very clearly and objectively, and another person may well see it slightly distorted. But because we all have different distortions in our perceptions, we can all help each other iron out these distorted perceptions from our personal biases through conscious communication. So by this, what I mean is that when we talk to someone, especially if we enjoy in-depth discussion, enjoy debating things, we try and maintain our own central truth. So we try and stay as truthful and honest with our knowledge as we can be. So we don't try and use fancy words to disguise what we're thinking. We're honest about what our perception of something is, but we also listen to what the other people around us are doing. This is the part of communication that we all tend to need to do a lot more work on. It's very easy to talk without much thinking, but it's a lot harder to listen because it requires you to try and understand what the other person is saying, whereas we all ideally would understand what we're trying to say, but what the other person is saying may be very different to what we're used to hearing. So we have to learn to open our minds up a bit and to listen carefully to what a person is saying, ask questions where need be to clarify, and just to not make assumptions about things. So rather than make an assumption, question what the person is saying, not from the idea of trying to make the person wrong or anything like that, but just try and get them to clarify what they're saying so it's easy for you to understand. Because generally speaking, the most objective truth lies in between two different viewpoints. One person may have a more accurate idea of a certain part of that truth, but the other person may hold some missing information needed for us to see the truth more clearly. And this is the function of communication, is to try and help us all to see the world clearly without our perceptions being biased by our own thinking patterns, our own social programming from a young age. And the more we're open-minded and the more we open up to what other people are saying, and the more we reflect on how what they're saying is linked up with what we think and believe, the more we can start widening our perceptions, and the more we can see the world more clearly for what it really is around us. Because the more we slow down and listen carefully to what the other person is saying and be open to new information, the more clear our own perception will be, and the better able we are to communicate our own truths, because by bringing in new ideas and being open to them, whilst remaining skeptical, because I wouldn't advise just blindly agreeing with everything that everyone says, because there will be certain things that the other person says which isn't true, and this is where discernment comes in. We need to listen carefully to see where the truth is in what someone's saying, but we also need to remain skeptical that we don't just get taken in by a deceiver. So part of the new moon Gemini may be setting intentions about improving our perceptions, improving our communication abilities. So it may well be that we do have the right kind of knowledge, but our manner of communicating to others may not be the most tactful. So, because ideally we should be helping to spread truth to people, not in a preachy way, not ramming it down each other's throats, but basically offering up our own interpretations of things, but not being attached to how the other person receives it. Some people will receive what we want to say and others won't, but sometimes it's not the content of what we're saying that affects the other person as to whether they take it on board, it's the way we say it. So one of the intentions we may want to set is, how can we become more tactful in the way we communicate our truth to the people, so we're not, it doesn't come across as some kind of power trip, doesn't come across as we're trying to prove the other person is wrong, that we're right. It's that we have a part of the truth that the other person may need to hear, but we need to give it in a way where we're not making them wrong, we're offering a different point of view, whilst accepting that what they have to say may well also be valid. So Gemini is all about learning the art of conscious communication. It's also becoming more social, so we may this may be a time where we've been fixated on one thing, we're suddenly feeling like we need a bit of novelty, we need some change, we need a bit of excitement, a bit of variety, like the whole variety of the spice of life argument. So we may well find that we want to look at seeing what other people in our neighbourhood are doing. So we may want to find out or explore new social opportunities in our immediate environment, so spending time with neighbours if we don't normally do that. And it doesn't have to be the immediate street that we're in, but Gemini does rule our local environment, especially the one that we grew up in. But it's basically our immediate neighbourhood, so who do we share the neighbourhood with? What do they like doing? Is there any activities that they're aware of that we're not, that we can find out about? Is there places around us that we've never really noticed before? They've always been there, but we haven't really paid attention because we've been stuck in our own heads. It's a time to really open our eyes up and look at new opportunities around us in the immediate environment. We may all feel it's a time to reinvent ourselves. We may think, well, there's something I've always really fancied doing, so I'm going to give it a try. It doesn't necessarily mean that we fully commit to it unless that feels absolutely right to do so, but maybe a time to explore new avenues of self-expression, new activities that we feel like doing that we haven't tried before. The rule of this new moon, Mercury, is in Taurus, so at the level of mind at least, we may still be focusing on our personal resources and just developing our self-worth and figuring out how to become more self-sufficient. So this may well be an underlying theme to this new moon, but it's also an opportunity to really start becoming more adventurous, to embrace change and novelty rather than a fixed reluctance to change attitude which always holds us back. So Gemini has that inherent curiosity about it, that willingness to explore new things for the sake of change and novelty, which we may not otherwise do. Doesn't mean we have to commit to the new activities if they're not right for who we are. If we don't try new things, we never know what new versions of ourselves we can unlock, new aspects of ourselves that we haven't discovered before, and we need to ideally look at how can we now embrace this new side of us that we're finding out through interacting with different groups, through exploring new parts of our immediate environment that we haven't tried before, and trying out new activities to see what new information, what new awareness can we gain. So it's quite a lot of different. Gemini is a very changeable sign, so we may feel like a social butterfly at this time. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because by exploring different environments, different groups, we can find out new sides to us that we may not have paid attention to before, but are now ready for expression. So I hope that's a useful guide for what this new moon in Gemini can offer. And as I said, we'll see some of the fruits of it at the Sagittarius full moon next month, but the final fruits of it will be the December full moon in Gemini on the 3rd of December. I hope that's a useful guide for you, and may it bring many blessings.